Hello, and welcome back to Earthbound Conversations with
Welcome with Lindsay
and Sharon.
Welcome back. So for this episode, we are going to be talking about energetic patterns within the bloodline.
Gonna be a juicy one.
Yes, that's an exciting one to talk about. And what brings us more to this episode and talking about that is I found that not only personally for us, but with clientele, there's been a lot of people who've been talking about dealing with the mother bloodline, the father's bloodline, limiting beliefs, how they might be stuck as an adult navigating through limiting beliefs and manipulation from their own parents who are creating their demise or guilting them into thinking that they are required to do things and that the parents feel entitled. So if you are a parent and you are watching this, you might want to look at some of the patterns and what you're projecting on your own kids. I spoke with a client who was telling me some things that their mother was doing that seemed like it was a bullying tactic to me. Well, you should want to do this, or, well, I did this for you and I raised you up from a child. Now this is what you're supposed to give back to me. No, God blesses you with kids, and that when they reach 18 or 21 and they get out there on their own, you are supposed to help give them that foundation so that they make you proud and that they enhance the family legacy, you know.
Yes.
Each generation we're supposed to get better, not worse. And sometimes I feel like I've seen it personally when parents see that you're excelling past them, it makes them have to look at themselves and they kind of beat themselves up, and there's a lot of guilt and shame going on. My question is to the audience, to you, even to myself, do you have a hard time confronting your parents and learning what their language is and being able to communicate to them how you feel and the way they're projecting?
Yeah, so I think for me, I had a period where it was harder. As a kid, though, I was very vocal, but it was when my grandparents actually shut it down that made it hard. Because my grandparents kind of raised me, and I consider them raised me partially as well. So they're harder for me to talk to. But my father and my mother, it's a bit better to confront. I may get really nervous, and there might be as well pushback, but it seems like as I've been getting older, there's been a little more respect because I've been navigating on my own. I think it's just the mental in my head that really gets me when I talk to them, because I'm like, what are they going to say? I don't want to disappoint them. I don't want them thinking, oh, Lindsay's not doing well as an adult, or she's being disrespectful as as my child. And so I think it's more the mental for me rather than actually my parents.
Yes. And I would say, you know, being raised in the church, it was always that scripture of children obey your parents. However, I will say that parents should respect their kids. And sometimes they use those scriptures to manipulate and control us. And then we have some people who hit 30, 40, 50, 60 years old, and they can't really speak their piece to their parents. And you can be respectful and creating those boundaries, because what we find in any case, as we talked about the givers, the takers, the receivers, your own parents can cross boundaries, or you could be crossing boundaries with your own parents and feeling entitled, like, well, they should want to do this for me. You know, when you're big enough to say you're grown and bold enough to talk and do adult things, you're responsible for you. Now, when we talk about limited beliefs or energetic imprints or patterns, we look at, okay, well, I didn't realize that this was instilled in me from a child, and I'm still acting it out in my adult life. Even when you watch relationships and marriages and how your parents interact and learning what love language is, when you become an adult, what is it that you do? You mirror and you model, or you might have a favorite, a mother or a father, or you didn't grow up with either one and your grandparents raised you, or you went through foster care, whatever it is, whatever you saw, that's a pattern that you created within yourself, and the older you get, it feels like the harder it feels to undo all of that and stand up for yourself. And sometimes you need people coaching you and mentoring you, like, nope, that's unacceptable. This is why a lot of people go through depression and anxiety while they're in counseling, because we always want to make our parents proud. We don't want to step outside the arena and do something that would avoid their family name, so to say.
Exactly. And especially with how I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness. And I realized as I've been going down about the limiting beliefs, or patterns, I noticed I have a people-pleasing pattern, and it came from being a Jehovah's Witness. And even though I didn't subscribe to that belief, I wanted to be accepted in the Kingdom Hall. And so I would always, I would do the Bible study and I would speak up more, because I wanted people to think, oh, Lindsay's such a good kid. She's such a a good disciple. She's a good servant of Jehovah. And I wanted people to think that of me in the Kingdom Hall, because I didn't want to disappoint the legacy of my grandparents, because they were higher up in the congregation. And so I felt I had to be the perfect kid.
Yeah. Well, the only person we need to please is God. What's the most important thing is our relationship with God. And no one is perfect. That's one thing that we learn. We all have things to work through, so we don't want to be that victim or martyr. Oh, my parents this, my parents that.
Appreciate them for the gifts, too.
That's right. And I, a lot of times I like to say that they were doing the best that they know how. We're in a new age now where we have all this counseling, because back in the days, you didn't go and tell the family business.
Nope. I thought if anybody's read The Body Keeps the Score, that book illuminated me to how they were doing electroshock therapy until the 1960s. And that's less than 100 years ago. And when you think of it, you're like, whoa, wait a minute. That's a little rough.
And so there was different forms of punishment for speaking up. Or some people didn't feel that, if you go further back and 1930s, 40s, 50s, the Depression, slavery, whatever it is we went through, all the transitions we went through here, even just in America, you can look at how society has shaped us a certain way that, we're not supposed to cry, we're not supposed to express our feelings, we're not supposed to communicate. So as a whole, we have a communication issue, and some of us don't know how to communicate without screaming and yelling, and you did this. My teacher always taught me, when you want to confront someone in a conversation, it's more of, I need your opinion on something, or can I talk to you about this? And this makes me feel this way when you do this, or instead of darting, because we put people in defense mode. So I have found personally, working with my parents, I had to be strict and stern and bold, and sometimes they would say things that really hurt my feelings and made me feel belittled. And also what I found is that it affected my relationship with bosses I had, with relationships I was in, and I had to look at, okay, well, they're treating me this way. Let me go back to the core root of where this comes from, of what's not healed. That's one of them energetic patterns within the bloodline. Oh, well, my grandmother was always this way. Oh, my father was always this way. And then you start drawing it back, and you're like, oh, okay, I see where that comes from, and how can I heal that? And do you feel manipulated half of the time? Or are you just, I'm used to them doing that?
Yeah, almost like, are they gaslighting you? Are they really just trying to get you to do what they want from you?
That's right.
Because they feel you're my child, no matter what, no matter what age you are, you listen to me. I'm the parent.
Yes.
But then in certain situations, they may go, well, you're an adult now. You should know how to do it. And so they pick and choose.
Yes, they do. They do. So one of the ways that we can look at releasing some of that control and manipulation is to learn to give space apart, let people miss you, and let your presence when you walk in a room. It doesn't have to be an attitude like, oh, here she go again, she gonna curse this one and that one out. Shock your family by just learning to listen sometimes and dismissing yourself from a situation or not outwearing your welcome. And one of the statements that I think I want to kind of, unless you have more you want to add to it, is I kind of want to close out with a statement and a way to help release some of the limiting beliefs or the way you might feel you're being controlled. And I would say, I release all that does not serve me through all dimensions, space, and time. I am free to be me. I love and approve of myself. I respect myself. And in respecting myself, I create those boundaries around me to show people how to treat me. I release all that do not serve me through all dimensions, space, and time, throughout my bloodline and every fiber of my being, mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally.
Yes.
I hope that helped you. Be encouraged and know that you are a unique individual, and we are all on a soul journey path. And yes, our family bloodlines, our mothers, fathers, grandmothers, great-grandmothers, great-grandfathers are a part of it, but there's unique greatness, and our assignment is to be able to jump over those hurdles and to do better and to have self-confidence in ourselves that we can speak up, because sometimes we don't feel confident. Until next time,
click like, share, and
subscribe. We love you.
Thank you so much. We'll
Be
see you
encouraged.
next time.